Today we have the stargazing block. It's a 12-inch finished block. Here's the picture and the diagram. There are a lot of smaller pieces in this block. Here is what 4 blocks look like when they're put together. And I like the secondary designs on here. They're very interesting. Patch A is a 1-inch finished half square triangle. We're going to cut squares 1 7/8 inches. Cut them in half once diagonally for 2 patches. We'll need 16 patches of the dark and 4 patches of the medium fabric. If you need 16 patches, you'll need 8 squares and cut each one in half diagonally. For the 4 patches, you'll cut 2 squares and cut each of those in half. Here's the AccuQuilt die for this if you have AccuQuilt. Patch B is a 2-inch finished square. We cut 2.5-inch squares. We need 8 for the blue or the dark fabric and 4 for the background. Patch C is a 2-inch finished half square triangle. We cut 2 7/8 inch squares, cut them in half once diagonally. We'll need 8 patches for the dark and 8 patches for the medium. So we'll have to cut 4 squares of each of those and cut each of the 4 squares in half diagonally. So patch B and C also have AccuQuilt dies that you can use. Patch D is a 2-inch finished quarter square triangle. We cut a square that's 3 1/4 inches. Then we cut that in half diagonally twice and we get 4 patches. And that's what we need for the medium fabric. And here is the AccuQuilt die for that. Patch E is a 1 7/8 inch square, and we'll need 8 patches of the background and 1 patch of the medium fabric. And patch F is a 3 3/8 inch square. We need 4 patches of the background. So let's take a look at the fabrics I've chosen. Here's patch A, and my dark fabric is this navy blue, and my medium fabric is this orange kind of color. And patch B are the squares here, and patch C are the larger half square triangles. Patch D is the quarter square triangle. Patch E are the small squares, and patch F is the large square. This block is a 3x3 grid. That means we have 3 units across and 3 units down that make up the block. There are the corner units, 4 of them, the side units, which are on the sides of the quilt, of the block. So it would be this, this, and that, and then the center unit. And that adds up to 9. So a 3x3 grid means you have to put 9 units inside that grid to make the block. On page 2, I have instructions. It's 5 steps of how to complete this block. The first thing we're going to do is make the small square in a square that goes in this corner unit. This corner unit is a square in a square, 2 dark squares, and 1 light square. We're going to take 4 of the A patches, which are half square triangles, the dark half square triangles, and we'll take 1 of the medium-sized squares and piece it like this. You can see how small that is. I start by piecing the opposite sides first. So you'll piece these 2 together, press it, and then piece these 2 together. That's how I always piece a square in a square unit. Here are the finished small square and square. Now these little guys, the first seams I pressed open, but the second seams did not want to be pressed open, so I just pressed those to the dark side. To finish piecing the corner unit, we're going to take the small square in a square we just pieced, and we're going to take the B patches and put them together like this into the unit. Here is the square in a square we just finished, and the B patches are 2.5 inch cut squares. So we're put the blue ones are the dark ones like this, and then the light one here. Now we'll stitch these 4 together. and press the seams open as we go, and then we'll do 4 of these and we'll have the corner units done. And here are our corner units. There are 4 of them. The next thing we're going to do is use the F and C patches to make the larger square in a square, and these are the side units. The C units are the larger half square triangles, and the F unit is the larger square. These are also square in a square. We'll sew those together the same way, but pay attention to the color placement. You see we have the 2 orange colors, or the medium fabric, are on one side and the dark fabric are on the other side. So that means you will take one of each color and sew them on opposite sides, press, and then take one of the others and sew them on opposite sides and press. And you'll have your large square in a square unit finished. And here are our large square in square unit. The last part we're going to work on is the center unit. And this might look a little difficult, but it's really not. We're going to take the remaining A units and the remaining E units and the D units and put these together. This unit is really a 9 patch on point. We're going to put this one in the center and then fill these in. So this is your 9 patch on point. And the side parts are going to be filled in with the D unit, which is the quarter square triangle that we cut. And you remember that quarter square triangles, the large side is along the lengthwise or crosswise grain, so that always goes on the outside of your unit or your block. And there they are. The outside edges is the more stable grain. Now we have our half square triangles, our A units, and we're going to fill those in here in the corners. And if you'll remember when you cut out the half square triangles, that these sides, the straight sides here, are the lengthwise or crosswise grain, so those are on the outside as well. Now you have all of your nice straight crosswise and lengthwise grains are on the outside of the quilt. Okay, so now what we're going to do, if you've ever pieced a quilt on point, instead of going rows across, you go rows on the diagonal. And we'll take this one out for just a second, and we're going to take these pieces and stitch them together just like this. There will be a straight line here when you finish the piecing. So piece both of these to here and press them open, and do the same thing with this line here. Just piece these 5 pieces together, press the seams open, and then piece this row here and press the seams open. Here are the 3 rows we just stitched, these 3, and they're pressed open. And these little nubs, I just cut those off straight with the square. So cut those off, and these 2. I cut them even with the square, the top of the square. Now you can sew these corner pieces onto the edges and then sew these together. Just sew all of these rows together and press the seams open. And here's our center patch finished. I pressed all these seams open. Now I'm going to cut off these nubs. Now all that's left is to put the block together. And remember, it's our 3x3 grid. We'll start with this one in the center, and these go along the sides, with the blue, the dark facing out. So you see your star has formed in the center, and then put your corner pieces and there is your 3x3 grid. Now we just sew the units into rows, 3 rows, press the seams open, and then sew the rows together.